All right, we can start our stream. Um, there are some days where because I always try to do it on Saturday and Monday, and this is one of those days where I probably would have preferred not to do it just because of the way I feel. Um, I try to have some level of commitment to this stuff, and I guess it comes with territory to be tired when you want to, when you'd rather be doing something else sometimes. Um, it's it's really interesting how you can always find someone that I guess tries to be doubtful of a position you take. And it's kind of disappointing that people are the way they are, where they're just like blatantly, I give the example of how when I used to speak to this one guy and I said, I don't need to speak to you. I can have like there's no person that I must speak to, at least online, especially just, outside of certain relatives where I just like couldn't function and oh, how can I live without this person? And he expressed doubt toward me on this because we get this like on and off interaction. But I thought it was so stupid for him to do this because I wouldn't understand why you would tempt fate. It's kind of like if I go up to I don't know, let's say a pool of sharks, and I go, "Oh yeah, when I get in this pool, none of these sharks are gonna bite me or tear me to pieces." Like, you don't sometimes certain things don't need to be said, and especially since after that interaction, I did attempt to permanently stop speaking to this person, and I would have if they hadn't have again tried to contact me, which did turn out to be the last time we talked after they acted insane. Oh, these websites. Yeah, it feels really nice just at least for the last few days, last not few days since yesterday, not having to keep, you know, dealing with those issues. Feels pretty good. So I mentioned on one of my streams that there was a guy who came to a comment section and he was acting antagonistic to the topic that was being discussed. And then after people responded to him in an antagonistic way, he tried to say that he was being picked on and play the victim card. And I really wasn't sympathetic to this person at all because I believe that if you go to a video where you know that a majority of the people there want the thing they're being talked about, and then you make your presence known by saying you don't want something, you can expect people to probably respond to you in sometimes in a not so kind way. Um, but his video was like the ultimate crybaby fest. He started talking about his like it's so interesting because I read the comment section, like I was there, and every time somebody said something to him that could be considered disparaging, it was about what he was saying. And he does this video where he talks about how he never mentions his disability, never uses it to get sympathy, and then reveals what his disability is, even though nobody asked for it and it had nothing to do with what was being talked about. And he did that so he could get sympathy and get people to feel bad for him. Like, I'm not the person who'll pick on someone for having some kind of impairment. I just think it's really insane when these people try to appear one way and then they act the other way. The other thing that was interesting is that he tried to say um, that spending $50 to $70 to get an autograph from a celebrity is is like insane or ridiculous because they haven't done anything in years, or just he had his different reasons. But I was really disappointed by this because one of the people that was mentioned, that one of the few people he mentioned by name in his video, I would have no problem spending 50 or $70 to get their autograph. And the reason for that is because this person has to keep pictures of keep multiple copies of these pictures that they offer to sign. They have to mail it directly to you. So if they gave it for free, they wouldn't make any profit, and I don't understand why a celebrity, especially one who's accessible like that, because most of them you can't go on their site and get autographs. But it's like, why do they have to, I guess, make like what is so bad about them turning a small profit from their autograph? I don't really understand. It's just like how when I used to go to websites where they would talk about these, like Comic-Con. No, I never went to any of those, but just when people would talk about them, I remember how it was mentioned that for a lot of these voice actors who don't get paid that much for doing these Japanese cartoons, they would get a lot of their revenue from just going to conventions and signing stuff. And this was like an extra bump for them, and it helped. And you even had, I think, one of them mentioned that this helped them to take care of themselves in some crucial way, because a lot of people, when they charge like $10, $20 for their autograph, a lot of people will do it. And I don't really see anything wrong with that. This person has to fly themselves out to this convention. Um, and I don't know why they can't try to make back what it costs to come over there via getting, paid to do autographs. I don't really understand. Like that's why I said a lot of times I'm not sympathetic to certain people, but I do know that there are various plights that come along with being a celebrity or being a person who is well known, that sometimes those people do something for a specific reason. I know that a lot of these people that go to conventions, whether it's voice actors or just actors in general, do not get paid to go there or have to actually pay money to go over there in the first place. So I don't really see what's wrong with them charging people for, like, if you don't want it, don't buy it. I don't know, just I don't quite understand. And this goes back to the issue I've had with just people on this site before, that it's like there's this weird entitlement to other people. And it's not even just with actual celebrities. Like, you see it with some YouTubers as well. I mean, who could forget the person that for about a month, because I wouldn't respond to their comments, they would come in my comment section. Can you read my comment? Can you see my comment? And then started typing various comments trying to get my attention on like three different streams for multiple hours. And I would always think about how out of all the channels I've ever described myself as being a fan of, like out of all of the ones I've ever been subscribed to that had thousands of subs, right? And this isn't even me like trying to toot my own horn, but just like out of all of them, only one of them has ever directly had the person I like address me, as in like the person running it or the person at the top or the person, like most people I'm sub to never acknowledge that I even exist. And it doesn't bother me, because they're not my friends. They're people who put up content that I like. And if they don't say anything directly to me, I can live with that. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to really want to meet certain celebrities. And then the more I thought about it, I said, well, if there's never going to be a meaningful thing that comes out of knowing this person, right? As far as like, you working with them on something, or, it's like high and by. I don't really see a point behind it. I mean, I guess to get something autographed would be okay, but some of them have websites you can go and do that for. So it's like I just didn't really understand the appeal of it. That's why I had one person who told me on Instagram, "Oh, I hope you meet this celebrity." I'm like, I don't really care to meet them. I mean, if nothing is going to happen of any significance. But again, it doesn't bother me. I can just be a fan of this person, or I don't have to actively know them. That's why I said I don't understand the current era of like having to meet every single person that you like or admire. It's weird to me. Like, out of all of my favorite actors, or what other people do I like? Out of all the people on YouTube that I think are good, as far as like interesting and make good video. I don't. There's none of them that I'm like I must meet this person. It doesn't matter. Mm. It's just not a thing that I really feel a need to even bother going over. Oh, why should I have to pay to celebrate you? That video was so awful, and it's sad because it's got about 300 views now. The whole comment section is just like sucking him off and saying that, "Oh, you don't deserve this, you poor victims." Just it's really sad. When you see some of the stuff people are sympathetic toward, you'll really be surprised. Like in if I do that, if I was a parent video, I'm going to talk about how it always befuddles me how you could have someone who would sit here and blame me for other people's finances, like why they won't pay for you to go to school, but then like the broad that has a kid because she opened her leg to a man that she knew couldn't take care of her or this kid. It's like you don't you'll find more fault in me for something out of my control than you'll find in her for something she could have directly prevented by not participating in such an act. Seriously, that's another reason why like one of the other videos that I was thinking of doing was called Why Men Are Set Up to Fail, and it would talk about how with a lot of like romantic advice, it's kind of structured in such a way as to like make it as difficult and unappealing to be with the woman as possible. Like just from the stuff they tell you to do, and then like the end result of that, most likely you're gonna be like, really, this is what all this is meant for. But you could say that there should be a video like that called "Why How Kids Are Set Up to Fail," where you talk about how. But again, the issue is you don't know if I don't know if I want to blend that in with the "What If" video, because the "What If" video talks about like I would do this and I would be prepared, and how a lot of children are disadvantaged because they come from conception wise a an affair that is not of two people are committed to each other. That's why a lot of times by the end of the pregnancy, the parents hate each other. The woman puts the man on child support. Like these are things that constantly happen when people who don't actually give a damn about each other reproduce. And like I kept like in the video I stressed marriage because I'm sorry, I don't want to ever be put on child support. I don't want to go to jail because someone made me make payments on something I made with a person who clearly did not care about me. I just it's really it's not something I'm interested in doing. So I really hope that people just kind of get out of the way with this stuff. They need to just sort of recognize that it's really sad the way like a lot of children, like most of them seem to be born now, just no one actually does it because they care and they want to have a family. They just do it because they don't like wearing rubber or any type of protection. And it's just a short-sighted redundant saga where they just keep making new lives because they're too lazy to actually plan this out. And in the video, I talk about how there are plenty of things that even if you plan it out, it still couldn't work. I talk about how you could randomly lose your job. You could have your just all kind of stuff like that. But I mentioned that there's a risk in everything we do, and it's so what I find so ironic is that a lot of times people on this site will assail me as being like negative and, oh, you don't believe in stuff and you're all this like fake positivity they try to spread around, right? But I'm not the one saying having a kid would be impossible. I'm simply stating that under the circumstances I would have preferred, I believe it would have been much easier and smoother to to do this versus how a lot of people do it, where they don't plan it out and it just happens, which is why they're unprepared when it occurs. So it'll be an interesting video if I do end up writing the whole script. Because I think that my idea of what a person should do if they actually want a family is preferable to what we end up getting most of the time. Like I have never once seen out of any of the couples I know in real life that have had a kid just in my lifetime, it be the process that is actually preferable where it's two people that get married and actually stay together. No, it's always, oh, I was dating this person and we didn't wear rubber and then oops, it's really sad and pathetic. But I tell you, that's the current era. It's just a bunch of disappointments and letdowns from people that don't have any ability to have any type of foresight. It's really pathetic. And unfortunately the kid suffers because of it. So that's the modern era, just letdowns and disappointments. I remember this one guy was telling me that if you think about chicks let down everybody, like they let down their dad when they do all this promiscuous stuff. They let down the kids they have when they have them with a man that they're not married to or have any kind of commitment with. Like it's like damn. On the video, I make sure to say, this is not a 100% guarantee of anything. It's just me saying that this is a lot of this stuff does mitigate some of the issues I have with modern parents. Mm. 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 They're just a really irritating group of people. I don't know. I'll always think about how it's harder to get a date with a woman than to get a job. Like, or actually, I take that back. It's easier to. I'm not even gonna say it because I don't even want to get into all that stuff right now. I can get into it in the video. It's just when you think about how certain stuff is easier than it should, like compared to something else that it should be easier but made harder. Like you really would think that it takes some kind of great prowess to get married. Like when I keep looking at these declining marriage rates and these increasing, which I take the back, birth rates are decreasing, but the just like the fact that it seems like it's harder for people to put a ring on someone's finger, than to make them carry a kid for 9 months. Like that's really insane to me. Like how one should be easier than the other one, but somehow we see a lot more of one than the other, of the harder one than the easier one. It's just like it doesn't make any sense when you just deconstruct. You're like, wow, they really took this thing that is very simple and made it overly complicated. That's what people tend to do, though. They like to make things difficult. It's one of their favorite hobbies. Pretty much every time I go and watch one of these different content creators, I always just read the comment section. Not all of it, but just some of it. Just look at what people are saying. In the video, I'm going to point out how it is kind of funny how tolerant, how selectively tolerant people are. Like, oh, I'm going to go harass and attack this man that can't get a date, but if some woman pops out a kid she can't afford, I'm going to make 900 excuses and talk about her tragic backstory. I just always think that's funny. That's why I said it's selective outrage. They pick and choose what to be angry over. Well, a lot of the stuff that they tend to not be upset over is way more damaging. Like, you know, I guess that would be a pretty good remark to end the video on, like the fact that I could never speak to a broad again, and it would have nowhere near the negative impact that half of these kids have from when they're born to these crappy parents. Like, me saying I'm done talking to them isn't going to stop somebody from going to school or have somebody go hungry or just it's so interesting how one man's inconsequential decision is like overexposed and attacked as if it's this great treasonous act, but then when people create lives they can't take care of, there's not really any type of repercussion. You don't really see anyone like, and sometimes you'll have people who say, oh, they do get criticized. Like, yeah, but you don't really see the same level. Like, you don't, I mentioned before the dingbat with the baby is on social media. I've been on there before. I don't see anyone saying, why did you do this? This is stupid. Just it just seems as if it's criticism free. Like, no one critiques these people for these stupid decisions that they make that negatively impact others as well. But that's why I said that, like, the overzealous desire to defend chicks has really destroyed people's ability to see right and wrong. Like, I mean, just think about it. They won't criticize them if they turn down a bunch of men, including ones that they pretend to like, and that extends to when they make decisions that negatively impact other people for years to come, like having kids they can't afford. So you really see like the first traces of it in them, defending, because again, you getting rejected is like not as consequential as them making a kid they can't afford, but it still is like the genesis of these guys like turning their brains off to just blindly defend, these women. Like, it's really sad that they act like this. Mm, really pathetic. You wanted me to rate my ad experience. What is there to say other than it's ads? Sometimes I see commercials I don't really like. Sometimes I see ones I think are okay. There was this one commercial I like so much. It was for Jardiance. Basically, someone had a rendition of this really classic song, so I liked it, their rendition so much that I tried to find the commercial online to just listen to, and then later on, I was trying to see if I could find who that singer was, and I couldn't. Just this unknown person with this good voice. It's like, damn, really wanted to hear it. Yeah, it's just a sad saga. No, I was gonna make the point in the video that I've seen people on child support before. It's terrible. Just having your paycheck completely eaten away, or having a bunch of it taken out because you made a kid with somebody that hates you. And I'll get a lot of flack for saying it, but this is another one of those things where because a lot of people deify romantic relationships, but I'm telling the truth. If I could see into the future and know that I would get with some woman that would have a kid and then she would put me on child support, I'd rather just be single forever. Like, that is such an undesirable, awful fate to pretty much everyone that it's given to. Um, like, it's really scary, and that's why I said that, like, people will say, "Oh, I had some stupid broad talk about your views are old-fashioned." I said, "Look, if you get married to somebody, they're not gonna put you on child support. People do that to get back at their exes after they leave them. And so, and to be fair, sometimes as well when they're being a crappy parent and not helping at all. But you know, I've just never seen it happen with a married couple. Which that's my point. That a lot of the vindictiveness comes from being in a relationship with someone who you barely liked or didn't actually love, and then by the time the kid is born, you hate each other and do stuff like that to get back at each other. No, I would never even bother with being excited about that. But that's another part of like the problem with romance is because so many guys have been denied them and I guess never allowed to experience it. They do get some type of like glorified image of chicks because a lot of people come on here and they go, "Oh yeah, when you're with a woman, it's so great." But there's a lot of awful stuff that comes with being with a broad, and it doesn't get addressed because the current, like my main thing is just how difficult it is to even get a date in the first place. But there's a lot of stuff with them that if you never or if you have no serious relationship with them, you would not come anywhere close to having to deal with the penalty of. And no one discuss because again, they're all too busy with trying to pretend being with a woman is automatically this great, amazing thing. The saddest thing about that is that usually the kid is the one who suffers because mommy and daddy want to use them as a pawn in their game, especially the mother. Remember, the courts favor the mother. They think that her, again, just like in general, that the protectiveness of a mother will make her a better parent than the father. So if you're the man, you're at an inherent. See, this is why I said you're in a system that is like it. This goes back to my thing about how it seems like everything is designed, at least when it comes to chicks, against men. Like you have to approach them; they don't have to approach you. You're told to do things to appeal to them. They're told to do nothing to appeal to you. Um, you're told to be inhumanly patient by waiting year after year for one of them to accept your advances, while they don't have to do that at all because they have men approaching them with regularity in a lot of instances. And you have a court system where they favor the woman literally because of her gender. Like, unless you can prove the mother's abusive or doing something really screwed up, they will 9 times out of 10 give the kid to the mom. Like, I've seen some crappy mothers and they don't ever get put on child support. Like I told you, with the thing about the baby, that person was unemployed and the dad was taking care of both her and the kid they made. Like he didn't go, "Oh, I will now come after you." Like every time I see child support used to get back at the other partner, it's usually the woman doing it to the man. People always talk about how men are so evil and all. It's like men tend to be more physically abusive, but chicks are very vindictive as well. They do a lot of things that their stuff is more passive aggressive, usually not as inclined to be physical, but some of the stuff they'll do can surprise you. It's very sad. The funny thing is, when man did use child support to get back at a woman, you would have other men and women call him out, saying he is less of a man, but it's okay the other way around. Yeah, I said there's standards for one group of people, and if you have a uterus, it doesn't exist. Like I don't see anywhere near. And remember, this is another topic that is discussed here. You will have more people within the span of a month, a year, write nasty antagonistic stuff to me because I don't talk to chicks anymore, than you will people go to these different chicks that have had these kids they can't afford and say, hey, look, this is stupid. Your kid is paying the price for your decision. You will never see anywhere near the number of people upset with her over a consequential, life destroying choice that she made versus me just saying, "Hey, look, I'm done talking to chicks." Like that's all you need to know about how one side is overly criticized referring to men and the other one can't, never seems to get almost any type of pushback. It's really sad. Remember, it's always the man's fault, no matter what happens to him. I don't know. It just seems like there's this inherent bias toward chicks, and I've never been able, like, when I see chicks, I just see people with a big chest, and like that's it. Like I don't get where, in general, they're so amazing as to make all these defenses and try to find ways to not blame. Like I don't get it. I've never been so infatuated. Even when I used to approach, I've never been so infatuated with chicks that just random broads. I'm like, yes, must defend at all cost. Yeah, you never see the man seeking child support after they split with the woman. Yeah, because the man is too busy trying to take care of his kid. Like when you actually care about someone more than yourself, the kid, you don't really have the time to get involved with petty squabbles with your ex. So that's why you don't typically see that. I think the whole amazement comes from the sexual desire, honestly. Otherwise, a lot of men would disregard them. But again, if you're so interested in, and we discussed this before, the guys that come on my stuff are defending chicks who they have no idea what they look like, who they've never met, no relation to whatsoever. So it doesn't make any sense to me. It's not like I put some beautiful woman's picture on screen. I said, "Oh, she's so stupid." You're like, "How could you talk about this woman that way?" Then there'd be some attempt by me to get it, but they don't know what any of these chicks look like, and they've never even met any of these people. I said before, if I did a video on Akatsuki Merchant's sister, and he came in my comment section, called me a piece of garbage, while I would be offended, I still would understand why he's upset. You know, but like a random woman, no, it doesn't make sense to me. I think it's very weird. So I said, guys are just like this stuff they do and like is bizarre to me. I would disregard them too. I would say, oh look, abroad, terrific. Tony, I've never been able to understand like the just the obsession people have with them. Like, it's funny, they'll say that I'm obsessed with chicks because I like mention how ridiculous the romance stuff is. But I mean, what do you call it when you don't even know somebody and just on the basis of their gender, you feel like compelled to find 900 problems in this random man that you've also never met. The court system when it comes to family is shambolic. I mean, look, I know you don't want to mention this envoy because it makes you look a little less credible, but you really should just fess up to the fact that the only reason you even got to keep custody of little envoy was because you were having an affair with the judge. That after she showed you her gavel, you showed her your gavel behind the scenes. You just come out and admit that was what occurred, and that's the only reason you're able to win that court case. You sold yourself to this this judicial power. I could really see somebody doing that too, where they go to the judge and they start flashing their stuff for him. What gets me is how desperate these women want to believe they're special because they have a vagina. You should see how they demonize and bash men on TikTok. I'm never going to that garbage website. I already see enough demonization on Twitter. But that goes back to my thing of how it seems as if, because in my why men are accept to fail video, I was going to mention how it really doesn't seem as if speaking to them actually is good. I mean, if you go online, you can find chicks complaining about getting too much attention from men. They're tired of being approached everywhere they go. It's like, so why even bother with them if they're upset with you showing interest in them? Which is what people tell you to do if you want to get a woman to like you. I don't. It just seems like counterintuitive to me. Like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you don't approach them, you're blamed for why it never happened, right? Because you didn't go out and seek it. And if you do approach them and you get rejected, then you're told that oh, you did this, you did that, and 900 reasons why it's your fault. So I don't know. It just seems like either way, you just can't win. Oh, I never even bother with that web. That's like the only website out of all of them I never even, because even with Tinder, I was on there for like 1 week at least. Like I never even bothered having an account on Tick Trash. These days, relationships, children with women, and marriage is Russian roulette for both sides, but especially men. You just got to roll the dice. No, I remember Tinder. I kept swiping around all these different chicks. Like, why is it taking so long from the same? So I just said, all right, to hell with it. That's why I said I've never been a fan of any of these dating sites because it just seems like if you're a chick, you get all these different men to show interest in you. If you're a man, you get almost nothing. Like you literally just sign in to have your time wasted. So that's why I don't even bother with that site. Like I'm not even joking. I have met more chicks that have shown what could be construed as romantic interest, and even that's putting it lightly, in me on Piscord and these other websites than any dating site. Like on the dating sites, I can count like one or two at most. That's what made me really start to think that romance stuff was just impossible. Like you would go on, like if you meet a woman on one of these other sites, they try to do that friend zone platonic crap for a while, right? Um, and then if you meet one on a dating site, first of all, most of the time they don't even say anything to you. If you show interest in them, they don't respond. And then the ones that do respond, it still goes nowhere. It's like this is damn near impossible. This is not improving in any way. Like these women really will use videos of men saying and doing messed up things as a frame of reference for how they perceive men. Because a YouTube video is always the indicator of how an entire group of people acts. Very brilliant stuff. Most of the time, I'll agree with the sentiment behind their arguments, but the logic they use to arrive at their conclusion is flawed. Man, they don't have no damn logic. Like, look, when I do a video, let's say I want to talk about declining marriage rates or birth rates. I have statistics for both of those that I can pull up. What statistics do they have? What screenshots do they have? Seriously, like what proof do they have of anything they say? It really does seem like the last place to go to if you actually want to meet someone is a dating site. Like every time I go on those, nothing happens, just except me having my time wasted. Like you will see more progress, which still isn't even that much, on YouTube than you will on on uh on any of those dating sites. Unless you're abroad, that is. But they have plot armors. They're not affected by stuff that you and I are. But the problem with picking up one of them, like what I had someone say the same thing a few years ago. I was like, why would someone who's at a library want me to come up to them and ask them for their number? Like, it's weird. I don't know. I don't know how you would even, just like one time I went to a funeral and there was this attractive woman in front of me. It's like, I'm not gonna say anything to this person. I'm at a funeral. There are just certain places where I don't want to even bother because it's not an ideal, tasteful situation, is the best way to put it. Hello, person that is also grieving. What are you doing this Saturday? I'm good. Today, hey, today, you get a number today, the final chapter. Tomorrow, a new beginning. Like I'm about to sit here and try. Like it's just, I'm glad I didn't do that. How would I fare on a Christian dating site? I mean, I can already see me getting banned in like a week because they start asking questions and all that, and it's how dare you believe something I don't? So it'll probably be very quickly that they'll terminate my account on that site. Yeah, I don't even bother with most of these sites. They're just really irritating. But it is kind of ironic that the place you get the least amount of progress on is the place where you're supposed to meet, where like that's the point where you're supposed to meet someone that I guess likes you back or whatever. Like, that you get the least amount of actual progress on that play. I'm serious. I will never use a dating site again. Like the last time I used one was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That's it. Is every time you go on one of those, it's just hello. Well, welcome to us wasting your time. Hope you enjoy your stay. And dating sites know they're unfairly biased toward chicks. Like I remember my best friend told me about the one site where if you're a woman, you get to sign up for free. If you're a man, you have to pay $20. It's like, how fair is that? So the woman can sign up for free, but if you're a male, like if you just happen to be a man, you have to pay $20. And that sounds like something that's equal and very very appealing, right? You damn right it sucks. I told them they can take that $20, wrap it around their dick, and suck it. Mm, tasty Jackson. They wrap it, they stick it right there. That's the, that's the closest they're getting to a 20 from me. Yeah, and that's why I don't go to those bars and clubs because listen, you can't have it both ways. You can't have chicks who say they want equality, want to be treated fairly, but then get advantages. You can't do that. Where on one hand they want to be equal to men, but then they also want to have various privileges that men do not. So like you're not going to see me go to those places if they operate that way, and I never have. I'm sorry, but I just don't think having a triangle should give someone an inherent advantage over me. Like you're not better than me just because you're a female. If being a female was actually worth a damn, you wouldn't see ones who offer their services for a certain price, if you catch my drift. Like it's not I'll never understand this weird obsession people have with them, like to where they just let them get away with everything. They give them unfair and unearned advantages. Like it doesn't make sense to me. So I don't care if some bars and clubs do it. You won't see me in those bars or clubs. I've never gone to any location where I had to pay because of my gender and some woman got to go in for free. I've never subsidized that. It makes no sense. You know, it's not my role. What also gets me about these people is when they cite statistics. I'm fully convinced that most people on the internet never learned basic comprehension skills and will just use anything that confirms their bias. Yeah, they love doing stuff like that where they pull out convenient statistics. They always ignore something that could have been. Oh my God! Look who finally showed up for the first time in like 5 months. How long has it been? 2 months? 3 months? This man disappeared. This unnamed individual is finally returning. He came back for his little cameo. I just don't think it makes sense that in the current era where everyone wants to tell you that they want chicks to be treated equally to give them advantages. Like I'm very serious, and I could do a whole video about this about like women's fake equality. You don't tell me I have to approach a woman, but then tell me that she's my equal partner. There's nothing equal about that. You don't tell me that I have to pay $20 for a site where she gets to log on for free, and tell me that's equal or fair. But I said before that it's a it's all total BS. What really is happening is they want equality when it benefits them, and they also want advantages from the equality. So, for example, they like it when it's the man approaching because we've said before that we have proof that chicks are afraid to approach men, including the ones they are attracted to. So, even though it is definitely unfair that men do almost all of the approaching, they don't have a problem with this because they benefit from this unfairness. You know, it's unfair that men have to spend what is it? Yeah, $20 to go on this site, but they don't care because they get to go on there for free. So as long as the unfairness is something that is unfair or biased in their favor, they're totally fine with it. And see that's how you know that chicks are full of crap because you can't have equality while also being given superiority. It doesn't compute. No, you watch all these feminists. I want to be treated fairly and equal. Yeah, in certain cases, that is. No, it's just fake equality. That's all it is. It's like not professional and social, just fake equality, where people say one thing and then do the opposite. Akatsuki Merchant says they'll use statistics that sometimes don't even confirm the argument they're making. They just see a graph with numbers and assume that's all they need. You can cite statistics all you want, but you can't properly interpret that statistic. Then your arguments are moot. Yeah, like I can say birth rates are decreasing. You know, this is the lowest number in 30 years. Like I'm not just going to end it at that. I'll say I think it's because chicks are inherently more difficult to be with or to acquire as a continuous recurring partner than they used to be. Um, I could say that a lot of them have this thing where if you directly, because I've mentioned this before, every time I see a chick that's under 50 that has a kid, it's always by accident. You know, like I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of them just are not interested in doing this unless they're caught slipping and being short-sighted fools like usual and popping out seats that they know they can't afford, but that they risk creating because they don't like to wear they don't like the feeling of rubber. So it's My point is I can look at that statistic and then make some conclusions and observations based off of things I have seen and can I guess interpret. You know, it's all interpretations are never facts, but they're still a way of building a narrative toward what's already there. So even if you didn't agree with my hypothesis, the fact is this statistic is true. So you're allowed to interpret it whatever way you want. I just think it's sad, man. Everybody keeps swearing up and down, not all chicks are the same, not all chicks are the same. Well, couldn't hey, couldn't fool me. I honestly think I would have a breakdown and a serious anxiety attack that landed me in a hospital if I had a kid by accident. Some folks are so reckless. They just don't care about anyone but themselves. No, like we've discussed this before. It's like there's a poll that says that people will stop using a condom altogether after being with someone for 2 months. So you're with this person for 8 weeks. Now you're gonna run the gambit of reproducing, and it's really insane because like I said, you have to take a test to get a license. You have to take a test to practice medicine, just any other thing that's considered important. But to have a kid, all you need is some broad to open her legs for you, and any Tom, Dick, and Harry can have one. It's really disturbing because that's why we have a lot of awful parents. There's no litmus test. There's no attempt at actually improving thyself to before the kid is born. Like it's just really pathetic. And that's why I said that these children are not born of parents who actually wanted them. They're just the byproduct of not using any type of protection while engaging in intercourse. There are many socioeconomic factors that go into declining birth rate, and one of them has to do with the fact people work more nowadays because of no. You know what? I still think, even with them working more, that there's just a lot of chicks that do not want kids. Like I have proof of the ones I've spoken to who said they never want to do it, which is one of the reasons why I wasn't interested in pursuing a serious relationship with them because I'm like, I don't. What is the point of me being interested in this person if I have a long term goal that they cannot satisfy? It's hilarious how I can have it but still unable to drink. Well, yeah, the reason why they won't let you drink until that age because it'll mess with your system. It's like, yeah, this getting drunk will screw you up more than having to take care of this child for the next almost 2 decades. It is funny to see chicks that complain about how like expensive it is. It's like you guys, you knew this would be difficult before it even started because you got with a man. Excuse me, you became romantically involved with a man who you were not seriously committed to, and who, after finding out you were having this kid, did not marry you, which was predictable. Um, and I don't know, it's just hard to feel sorry for them because, like I said, every time, you know what it is, it's like when you keep getting attacked over stuff that is out of your control, you don't really feel that bad for people that have bad stuff happen to them that's entirely because of themselves. Like maybe if I wasn't attacked over, like, oh, you're not with a woman or you're unemployed, maybe like then I would feel bad for them. But like I said, unless they were raped, no one makes them have these kids. Like I've met plenty of chicks who, when they don't want kids, they always but they still want to be sexually active. They'll use condoms. They'll use birth control. Hell, some of them are so extreme they don't even bang. So I can't feel sympathetic. I'm sorry. I feel bad for the kid, but the parents are idiots. It's difficult for me to be to even to look at that and feel any ounce of compassion for the adults involved because they did it to themselves. No, it's like just think about all the things that they that can be. Oh, I haven't seen Jedi in so long. I guess this is just the return after a month of vanishing stream. But just think of all the options they have to avoid this. You take this test, right? And let's say you find out a week after it's happened, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some people will go a whole month without even knowing. Um, they can get an abortion, right? Depending on what state they're in for multiple months of into this. Um, and hell, even if they want to birth it, they can put it up in the foster system. Like there are 900 different ways to avoid having to take care of a kid for 18 years. There's so many of them, and I don't feel sorry for them because, like I said, these aren't people that who were like, oh, we're gonna have a family and it's gonna be so great, and then oh, the dad left and now you're struggling. No, you knew this person wasn't committed to you from the time you banged them, and because you don't like wearing rubber, you made a human life, and now three people have to pay the price for your decision. So it's just extremely difficult to feel any type of sympathy toward them because they do it to themselves. It's really sad. One woman through told me that the reason she doesn't want kids is because she hates kids. Like, wow, okay, you basically hate yourself because oh yeah, that's always the like stupid excuse they give. Where I remember I told you about the broad where I think I might still have that recording where she said she'd rather get shot in the face than have a kid. It's like, look, if you don't want to do something, that's fine, but let's not project your weird, suicidal, um, edgy garbage onto me. Like just say you don't want to do it. We don't need to hear about you because she wanted to off herself over multiple things. So that's just her go to. When something gets too tough, she quits. She takes it to the extreme. Oh, honestly, I would be like running around naked in the jungle, scaring tigers and being surprised. It would be like running around naked in the jungle, scaring tigers and being surprised that attacks you. Yeah, the issue I have is that these people all know each other, and that's another thing I bring up in the video that they're all aware of the circumstances that caused each one to become a mother, and it's like it never dawns on them. I don't want this for myself. Like I said, I know guys in real life on child support. It's terrible. I would never want to experience that. So, it's just really sad that they don't have the same foresight. They don't say, I don't want to befall the same fate. Stop projecting your self-hatred onto innocent children, you actual monster. See, that's another reason I don't really like chicks that much. I don't understand how you hate an entire group of people. Like, there are some kids that are, I guess, annoying or that are like rude or nasty, but just in general, I hate kids is just a really like I can't empathize with that because there are a lot of kids that are decent, that don't act like you know rambunctious monsters. So it's that goes back to this thing of how I don't believe in what's the way of saying it. I don't think modern chicks are able to I guess appeal to me in a way that is actually relatable. Like I because I can't empathize with someone who says they hate kids. I don't understand it. It's just a really bizarre, ironically enough, generalizing statement that they're making. Like if I say I hate chicks, in an instant people would say, "Oh my God, you're a misogynist. That's so sexist. They're not all the same." Da, 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 da. But then when a woman says that, you know, no one gets upset. No one calls her weird. No one says, "What's wrong with you?" I'm literally in that position with the girl I know now. There are honestly many things I can forgive people for: drinking in excess, doing drugs, buying a car you can't afford, getting into a fight in public, but bringing a child into this world with reckless intent. Hell no. Well, they don't really have intent. They just do it by accident. They don't plan anything out. They have no foresight. That's why I said it's just a spur of the moment thing. Like, oh, we didn't wear rubber for the last 15 banging sessions, so let's just have this kid that we know we can't afford. Yeah, that's the problem I have with them. There's no ability to just look into the future. Like, do you want this? Can you actually accomplish this? Are you giving this child the best life you can ensure? No, to all of that. So why even bother? I'll tell you why, because they don't want to use condoms, and that's why this. It's so weird how like how it works, where they just make lives that they know they're screwing up before they even start, and you know they convince themselves that this is how it had to go, and they always have the same excuse: I was young, I didn't know any better. It's like, get out of here. I remember when that stupid broad tried to tell me that about the thing about the. I was like, me and her are the same age. If it is truly the fate of every young person to make life destroying decisions, then why don't I have a bastard kid? It's like, what? Like, you're so stupid. Just I hate it when they do that, because God forbid there are people that are under 30 that don't do these types of things. I guess that's impossible. By the way, the broad is a hypocrite because she also does not have one. So it's like, you knew not to do this, and now you're going to sit here and try to like make excuses for someone that's stupider than both of us. Like, what's wrong with you? I don't know what else you want to call it. Times of screwing, intercourse sequence, whatever form of phrase you want to use. And so, what if the kid acts rowdy? They're a kid. Kids are going to be like that. It's your job as an adult to have the self control to deal with it. Oh, that's another thing we talked about. How when you see a lot of these parents that hit their kids and they like scream at them and all this, I don't. I think a lot of them don't actually have the. I don't want to call it the mental fortitude, but just like the patience to deal with a lot of that stuff. You know, like to just sit them down and calmly explain you did a bad thing here, this is your punishment, or you know hey, look, you shouldn't be doing this. If you do this again, I'm going to take this away. Like they can't even do something like that. They just freak out, and you know the way they act is indicative of, again, someone that I don't think is prepared to do this, but whatever. Did you have some people that act like 5, 6, 7-year-old children are adults? Like, I've seen some stories on YouTube where they've had like kids try to make their own food in the kitchen because the parent is too lazy. I just think it's really sad, man. Like, really, really sad. No, they are kids, but that goes back to my thing that there's not really an understanding that you are dealing with the person who is, has flawed logic, is just starting out, is trying to learn how to do things. There just isn't any patience with a lot of these people, unfortunately. And that's always thought was so interesting how people who just in every sense of the word are unfit to be parents can just like still end up becoming one because someone finds them sexually attractive. That's what I've always thought was the saddest part about this saga, that they can just, coast off of being physically attractive. Like, oh, I can't stand actually parenting a kid, and I also can barely afford to take care of them. But yeah, someone put their banana in me, so now one will come out of me. Like, it's really pathetic. But I'll tell you, that's what happens when there's no litmus test for something as dangerous as this. I said before, the West is really like the place where there's no stance for anything. Like, If we lived in a world where people actually like had true standards where they weren't just grandstanding, every time that broad walked out of her damn house, she would have people saying, "What's wrong with you? Look at what you did." They would disassociate from her. Instead, all that happened was for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks behind her back, people would say how stupid what she did was, which I agreed with, and then they all acted friendly toward her. And I've been the only one that would not associate with this person after what she did. Like I could never willingly associate with someone that acts that way. And I really hate the fact that by virtue of where I live, I have to still see that stupid person. Um, but again, at least they know I don't tolerate or like any of what they've done, and I'd rather do that than be another one of these fake people that you know is upset for like 2 weeks about a life altering decision and then gets over it very quickly. If both parents are earning a bit over minimum wage and combine their income, fair enough. They could. Oh, well, see, that's the point I was talking about. When you have, see, people want to sit here and act like getting married is this like bizarre thing. And why would you even say that? But when you have two people who are committed to each other and their kid, and they're both working, and they're, even if it's minimum wage, if they both have steady positions, they can get by. Um, they stand a much better chance of being successful with raising their kid than any of these single parent households do at all. Like, why do you think it takes two people to make one person? Because they need the help of both people. And again, that's the type of stuff that you only really get when a couple, like, even if it's not marriage, if they're like living domestic partners, they've been together for years. That's kind of the same thing, but just you have to have some stability of two people together year after year to know this is actually going to last or make it. And it's not something that a lot of these people are willing to do, unfortunately. No, they don't even try to have any concern for those effects. They just let it get on by. 'Cause like I said, a lot of these modern parents, their entire existence as a parent is predicated on their selfishness. This kid exists because they didn't feel like wearing a condom. They didn't feel like, I guess, waiting until marriage to have intercourse. Much of their existence as a parent is predicated on them being selfish. Like their decisions were made to appease them, not for the kid. It's really, really sad. Dude, it was the funniest thing having people do the psycho and analysis stuff, and they're like, "You probably hate yourself because you're not with the woman." I'm like, man, I'd have to really hate myself to be with one that would put me on child support and um try to like accuse me of not being there. Like, I'd really have to hate myself to be with someone like that. It's like they don't even think about they don't. So you don't think kids notice when one parent stays with them at all times, the other one is in another town or in another part of the city. But again, this is the kind of stuff that if people plan them out and they have it with someone they actually care about and they're married to for years or at least have been with for a while, you can mitigate. But and look, I only say marriage because I just think that that's a stronger union than, oh, I just live with this person. So that's the only reason I stress it. It's really, really pathetic. But like I said before, this is just the era of doing screwed up stuff and getting away with it. These kids get screwed up because the parents put their own desires before the kid. Yeah, and that's why I said that I just because I used to associate being a parent with being with at least trying to be selfless, like having this one person that you consistently put above yourself. And I don't really see that almost ever. Like it just seems as if they do it because they, like these kids exist because their parents were selfish and had, no decided not to protect themselves from reproducing, and then it happened anyway. And after that they kind of just mentally checked out. They just sort of said, all right, well, I guess I'm doing this now. Like they don't, it's just it's really pathetic that people don't they took something that's supposed to be virtuous and just turned it into a joke. Nowadays, being selfless is seen as not loving yourself because God forbid you care about someone else but yourself. Yeah. It's a like I said, man, people online are just the biggest clowns on the planet. Like don't like when you come on here and you read the stuff they say and the things they type, you just end up shaking your head because it's of how ridiculous it is. Like remember, you'll have more people mad about somebody over a video than mad at a person for having a kid they can't afford. And that should tell you something about how screwed up priorities are. Everything is seen as not loving yourself. I tell you, that's the worst thing. That's like the worst legacy of chicks, that they're used as a plot device or a point of argumentation for these guys that have never met you to try and make guesses and speculation about your mental health and your confidence. Like, oh yes, this random woman doesn't like me, so I must not like myself, even though I've never seen anything of the sort. This woman turned you down, so now we know that you don't like who you are. When was this established? Well, I watched your video about not getting accepted by chicks, and that's my conclusion. But where's your evidence? Oh, my evidence is my belief, my opinion, something I concocted out of thin air. I'm gonna start doing. I'm just go to people's videos like, well, I could tell from the way you were smiling that that was actually a look of insecurities. I'll never go over that one clown that was like, I know from watching I don't need to meet you in real life because I know from watching your videos you're not ready for a relationship right now. I'm like, what the hell? Like, does this guy not know what a public persona is? I like how someone who's never met me can determine whether I'm ready for one. That's always very nice. After all, no one wants to be a bad guy. Oh, they weaponize self-love to neglect and treat people like crap while expecting to be seen as a good person. They do weaponize self-love because, listen, what the hell does someone loving themselves have to do with a screwed up thing a woman did to them? Think about it. If you really think about it, they're trying to, because this goes back to my thing of how they always find a way to make it your fault. They're trying to basically say to you that because you don't love again, not you saying it, but then because you don't love yourself according to them, you deserve every bad thing that a woman does to you. So if some woman talks to you for like 2 months, three, four, five, six, and then never reciprocates your interest in her, oh, it's because you don't love yourself. If you go up to some woman and you ask her out, and then she pretends if she's really considered and she turns you down, oh, she did that because you don't love yourself. If you go on a stupid dating website and you swipe right on every damn broad and none of them say anything to you, oh, they didn't swipe right back because you don't love yourself. It's just a stupid way to always make it your fault whenever a woman does a brain dead dingbat loose cannon um completely irrational decision. That's all it is. Just you to be the scapegoat. That's why I said next romance video I do, I'm gonna draw a sketch of myself on a cross because all you do is get crucified for every dumb thing a chick does when it comes to this topic. I'm gonna change my last name on here to Christ. Start off every stream with a Bible verse. They really do weaponize self-love. Like they take this thing that's supposed to be good and make it bad. It's like you don't love yourself, so that's why this person hit you. You don't love yourself, so that's why this person cheated on you. Like, damn, man. Not everybody is like always happy and confident with who they are at all times, you know? It's even more funny too, because like a lot of these chicks are depressed as well. Like you can read stuff that they've said and done and know that they're like also not in a or even in a let's just say a worse headspace than you are. Uh and it's like you guys are so one-sided in your criticisms. Like, really? They always pick and choose who they'd like to be upset with. It just shows how messed up in the head these people are. Yeah, I think a lot of the guys that write the like romance advice stuff are not well off. Like just like you saw that one person from the UK that was claiming they're a woman. I think there's something wrong with that person too. The one you know who I'm talking about, the one that came to my stream talking about still attacking women, shaking my head. It's like, yeah, there's something wrong with a person like that because they go to a channel that makes content they don't like, and then when the person is making stuff they don't like, they feel like they have to tell you that you're making something they don't enjoy. I'm waiting for Akatsuki Merchant to admit he doesn't love himself, as if that has anything to do with the points he's making about how screwed up chicks are. I just think it's so weird. Like I swear I've never had a single argument with someone like, uh, when are you going to admit that you don't love yourself? Like what? Especially when, like I said, man, every time they can do it, they'll use the chick stuff to lambast you. Oh, you lack confidence. Oh, you're too ugly. It's like it never stops. So even if you do one thing that they tell you to do, they'll just keep raising the goalposts because their goal is to never criticize chicks, to always find fault in you. So if they don't say you lack confidence, they're just going to attack you over your physical appearance or some other aspect of your personality. You're probably too shy. You probably did this. You probably did that. Anything we can say to defend a dingbat. We're going to speculate on you all day so that we can defend anything a woman will do or say. It's really, really sad. Like the only mistake I made about coming on here and talking about this stuff was I actually thought years ago that you could have a serious adult conversation about this where people actually made points. If they didn't agree with something, they would explain it in a way that was tangible and rational. And no, you just get a bunch of nebulous terms. I didn't like the vibe I got from you from watching your video. So it makes sense that this happened to you over and over again. I'm going to ban Jedi Master because he is not a prevalent commentator on my channel. What do you mean by prevalent? How many times do you have to comment? I don't know. At this point, it's a gaslighting tactic. Dude, I don't know what the deal is with all these, like, you know what I think is so funny? I've had guys say I'm overthinking the chick stuff. when you like analyze it and talk about how they make it more complicated than it should be. But then it's like the same people are telling me your personality is probably this. You didn't get one because you're of your necklace. Like, what do you call that? I mean, think about this. Like, oh, I got rejected by a woman. Oh, well, what's your personality like? Do you believe in yourself? Do you love yourself? Like, what is this? Some bizarre therapy lesson? They love doing that. They like to just sit there and speculate and come up with fan theories. They remind me of those channels where, like, let's say some Marvel movie or something that's coming out. It's like, who will be in the next film? Like they're just like, it's like, oh, there's this little thing over there, so it might be that person. It's because they're simple minded and they want simple answers to problems they don't really understand. You know, but then here's the thing, right? Some of them will type out, it's not all of them, but some of them will type out whole paragraphs where they're like seemingly deep in thought about this stuff, right? Like if you look at that weirdo Tony, that guy's first comment on my channel was last year, and he wrote like stuff referencing me being on Discord and like people acting stupid on there. So it's like these people will watch someone enough to know about something like that, but then when they bring it up, they can't really make a conclusion that actually makes sense. Like it's a fact that a necklace is not a determining factor, and if someone finds you attractive right now, like no article of clothing is going to stop someone who thinks you are physically attractive from trying to be with you. I've seen plenty of chicks I didn't think were wearing, I guess, an outfit I thought was hot, and if I think they're attractive, I don't really care. Like it's not like they can they can just take it off. It's not that big of a deal. Mm. I'm gonna watch Akatsuki Merchant speak for 10 minutes, and I'm gonna know his personality and all the elements of his tragic backstory, and I'll instantly be able to analyze why he wasn't successful with chicks. Like, I've never met this man. I don't know what happened besides what he tells me, but I'm going to draw all these conclusions because I feel like it. They love doing that, just this over analysis where they just make like, and that's why I said it almost gets to a point where you say, well, what's the point of even speaking to these people if all they're going to do when they don't agree with like your assessment of why something happened is just draw a conclusion based off of whatever BS they've told themselves, then why even bother trying to speak like I'm serious. I with a lot of the romance stuff, I always feel like just I turn the comment section off because it's like, what's the point? You guys don't listen to anything I have to say. You attack me over stuff that's out of my control. So what like to hell with it. We like what's the point of having a dialogue with these people if it's not actually about what you're speaking on? Imagine what I would look like if I went into a debate class and some woman is like the main debater, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. You're making some good arguments, but I don't like that. That necklace you're wearing. I'd be thrown out there in 5 seconds because again, it would be recognized that I'm not saying anything that is seriously addressing what's being talked about. I have to remind these fools that real people aren't anime characters you can watch for 5 minutes on their personality and know their tragic backstory. Well, I told you they do treat people like real life people like fictional characters. As in, like, they think if they watch you enough, they now know who you are. They can infer what your past was. Um, it's like it's a combination of treating real life people like cartoons or like these fake caricatures they can just overanalyze, and then also being like fake psychiatrists at the same time. I just finished watching your video and I know that you do not own money. You might as well be a damn anime character. Like they do that on those different forms. They're like, I don't like this character's design. Yeah, they're fake psychiatrists. You sit there and watch somebody for 10 minutes and you're gonna talk about that they lack confidence and look at the way his eyes keep darting away from the camera. You can tell he's distracted. He's probably unfocused in his approach to get with the woman. It's like, what the hell? And all they have to do is say, well, I'm getting a degree in psychology. That means I'm an expert on this subject. Yeah. Yeah, I told you about that one time that Uber driver picked me up, and he said every time he picks up a woman, they're always in doing. And I said psychology, and he was like psychology. Like before he even said it, what subject they kept majoring in, the fakest, most generic crap. Whatever. I'm not even gonna. Whatever. I've never sat back and watched somebody's video and just been like, all right, this person can't get with a woman because I don't like the cut of their jib. Like I've never, even when I used to watch other people's stuff, I never did that. That's why I said a lot of times it seems as if people are probably better off. Like I don't dissuade people from watching other channels, but if these like romance officials or these guys are like actually telling men to go around and harass other men who talk about like who talk about hard it is to get with a woman or just like disparagingly about I just don't think that's helpful and I find it very disturbing. And I really don't want to be affiliated with that at all. That's why I don't associate with those groups. People who actually major in psychology don't make hasty. Well, I thought I could have sworn. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but don't psychologists have to actually be with the person to make a diagnosis? Like I could have sworn that was the first rule of being a psychiatrist that you have to be with the person to make a diagnosis of what and who they are. Like you can't just watch a video and be like, oh yeah, you have bipolar disorder. Like it doesn't work that way. Like there are like I don't have any of these professions, but there's certain rules I know based off of what I've heard from people who actually are. And like I know that lawyers, if they're accused of a crime, they're not supposed to represent themselves because they're too emotionally invested in the case. And that can hurt their chances of winning. They can't be a neutral arbiter of information. Man, I remember when I was in like my first it was like for like the period of 11th, 12th grade and then the first year after high school I was like, "Oh man, I'm going to go to a 4-year school and then to a law school." And then when I saw those prices, it all went down the drain. It's really sad that things are the way they are. In fact, it is seen as as unprofessional to make hasty assumptions about your clients as a psychiatrist. I just don't understand how you can analyze who someone is that you've never met and that you watched a video of or I just think that's like I don't do this to people. I've never watched someone's video. Well, I've determined that this person suffers from this disease. Like I don't. Who does that? You think that's weird? All right, whatever. Sometimes it really is like just go be insane somewhere else. Like if you want to go and pretend to be more intelligent than you actually are, be my guest. But I don't need to have that written in my comment section. Like why do discussions about going on a date was supposed to be fun have to like morph into these very nasty, disgusting, dehumanizing debates, like why does it have to turn into that? Think about this, like you want a date which is supposed to be a fun, enjoyable thing you do with a member of the opposite sex. Why the hell do you have a comment section of men talking about the way you look and what they think your personality is and how you're probably going to commit violence? Like, what's wrong with you? You don't think that's very ironic and unappealing to boot? It's very unprofessional. You can say that again. So I said people online just they're really nasty. But look, I'm gonna get off of here. I will I might stream again on Thursday, but if I don't, then definitely on Saturday. So I hope you enjoyed and have a good day.